right, what's going on, fellas? Hopefully the audio, it's not going to be good. Hopefully you can hear me. We're in the car. We're on the way to the contest. It is contest day. We drove out Thursday, drove all day from Montana back to Washington. We just hung out with my nephew yesterday, which was fun. Went to the check-ins, checked in, all that. Didn't have to weigh in because I'm entering the open class with the big boys in the amateur this year. Next year, going to take a stab at the Pro-Am. There's some very good pros that do the Pro-Am, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to next year, looking forward to this year. We're going to give them hell. I don't want to keep this too long. I got my standard big bowl of rice, beef, pickle, carrot, and bone broth. Just eating my standard stuff. The travel day diet was a little bit more varied because the biggest, I saw Mitch Hooper mention, biggest thing on travel day is just making sure you don't end up in a deficit. And I've tried to bring my Tupperwares on the road, and it's cold, and using the microwave at the gas station is a little dicey sometimes. So basically, a little bit more varied, ate out a little bit more, just pick things that I know how they digest, which was the main thing. Like, it's definitely not clean food, but I know I can get a couple of McDoubles and a small fry, and that sits totally fine in my stomach for some reason. So that was a lot of my food yesterday, and then back onto a standard meal, standard day of eating today. Having a hard time getting through this meal because of nerves, but that's pretty normal. So I got up at 3 in the morning to actually eat my first meal, which everybody would be like, "Oh, Sam, I thought you said sleep was so important." That's assuming I'm sleeping. Max and I never ever sleep much at all the day before a contest. Not a big deal because one bad day of sleep, you can usually perform pretty well. It's 2 bad days sleep that really mess you up. So not sleeping anyway, may as well be eating. That way it's more like a regular day of training where this is my second meal and then I go lift. So if I can't get this all down, which I don't think I'll be able to, I should be all good to go. I got a bunch of carbs via like sports drinks, got a bunch of Gatorade, put some of that Morton's light salt in it, so we got some extra potassium and sodium in there, brought some bananas. We should be firing all cylinders. It's a 2-day show, 3 events today, 3 events tomorrow. Today will be the barbell clean and press for reps at 315, the bag to shoulder for reps at 300, and then the yoke to keg to bag medley. I'm pretty well prepared for this whole, tomorrow, log, deadlift, Zercher yoke for distance. I'm pretty well prepared, feeling really confident. My nerves actually are very, very not bad at all because I feel pretty well prepared. The only thing that causes me a little bit of worry is that keg. I do not have much practice with the technique of kegs, and while obviously I am strong enough to carry that and load it over the yoke, you gotta be able to do it right. Just being strong enough is not enough, and there's lots of little tricks to kegs being like an odd-shaped object. We're gonna see if I've got a bad way of lifting it, and I'm just praying I can do it with this bigger keg. We'll figure it out on the day. That's the one I got a little hang up on. We're gonna give her a go. All right, let's break this down. So here's event 1, barbell to overhead, max reps in 60 seconds with 315 pounds. I think it's about 143 kilos. This is the first contest where I've been asked to put a regular bar over my head, and also the first contest where I've been allowed to do a belt clean. Guys were using a regular continental technique where you put it above the belt, no belt contact, as is the rules in many shows, because it was what they were familiar with. I committed to the belt clean early. It was a little weird at first, but you can really throw your hips into it. You don't have to stay as upright as you do with a regular continental, as I've done in the past. I trained this pretty thoroughly, and it showed. I was lucky enough to go later in the order, so I had seen what people had done prior to me. I watched the guys in the warm-up room, so I knew that the guys that were the best at this event had already gone, and the people that were going after me, they seemed to be struggling a little bit in the warm-up. So I just did what I needed to win. The best result thus far had been 3 reps, so I just ended it with 4 reps to save a little bit of energy. I would believe I was prepared for 5 to 6. I had it slip off my belt there, which slowed me down, but in training I was prepared for about 5 or 6, which I expected to be the winning mark. Didn't even have to take it that far, which saved me a bit of energy, which was yeah, this was one of those ones. I was really, really confident coming in with this one. It suits my strengths. I'm a good presser. I managed to figure out the clean. The belt clean was a little weird at first, but goddamn, for a guy without a big, with a medium-sized gut like myself, it is a hell of a lot easier. So I'm glad I committed to the less familiar, but probably higher upper end technique. And it paid huge dividends with an easy event win here for max points. But to get into the real shitter of the day, the one that really pissed me off because my training went really, really well. We have the 300-pound sandbag to shoulder, maximum reps in 60 seconds. I had been training even overweight. I think I was doing like a 310-pound bag to shoulder. I was ready for 5 reps. That was what my training indicated. I felt my training went really well. I trained really hard for this one. This is the one event I'm really sour about. This is actually the 265-pound Cerberus bag, but they've got some lead shot in there, so it weighs 300, but it's much, much shorter than the bag I was training on, and my lack of experience showed through where I was grabbing much too high on this bag. So I wasn't able to extend as I normally would, didn't really have the purchase I needed to. So I didn't end up in that lean back position where I continue pop that bag up to my shoulder. And I just didn't make the adjustment on the day. The commentary team said I was grabbing too high. Everybody watched said I was grabbing too high, but I just didn't have the familiarity with different bags. I just trained on the one I knew, which was the whole point of this show, was to get that experience, but I failed to make the read on the day. It's not about just optimizing a specific setup like in powerlifting. You need to know how to make small adjustments between different pieces of equipment, and I did not have the familiarity there. The final event of day one was this big medley where we go down with the yoke, we go back with the yoke, and then we go get the implements. So we got some stuff to break down here that you guys might find kind of interesting. Yoke, I felt like I was pretty fast, but there was a bit of an issue with the floor being really slippery, and there was no drop penalty. So there was no sliding penalty. So it ended up being everybody would drop their yoke about 4 or 5 feet before you actually got to the drop point. It would slide past, and then there was no real penalty for dropping. And because there was no penalty, that was the correct way to do it. But my ref was very nice to me, and I didn't want to feel like I was like taking advantage of the rules. So I carried past the line, and then it slid an extra like 4 feet. So I ended up having to carry it a little bit extra far, but I felt like my speed was quite good on the yoke. I've been training that really hard in the off season because it was an event that I wasn't great at in a prior show, and it's been paying off. I've been getting better at it quite rapidly. Little bit of a shindig with the sliding. Who cares? Great run show. Nothing they could have done about it on the day. All of that being a long-winded way to say I'm actually pretty happy with the yoke. As you can see there on my first run, on the way down, I was pretty quick. I got some compliments on the speed there. The training is working. Ran down. I elected to pick the keg upright, which I'm told is called like a Japanese style carry. I don't know if that's true or not, versus like a sideways one that everybody else elected to. I was told this was a mistake, but my plan was actually to shoulder the keg at the beginning and then get it over. But I panicked because I wanted to make sure, because if you didn't finish it, you were given distance. So I wanted to get the distance out of the way first. And because that keg was filled with water and pea gravel, I was worried it would fall backwards if I shouldered it all the way. So I tried to load it before fully shouldering it and ended up getting caught on the bar, drained the fuck out of me. Really, really hard to get that over. And I was kind of shot after that. So I went and grabbed the bag, realized I wasn't going to be able to get it over. So instead, what I opted to do was carry it to the end to make sure I got maximum distance to kind of do some point damage management. Overall, the biggest weakness in my game is my loading. My static strength, my overhead strength, my grip is okay. My moving events are actually pretty okay. I'm quite fast for a 250, 260 pound guy. But my loading is bad, and my lack of confidence in my loading forced me to use some goofy tactics there. So that wrapped up day one. I believe I was in second at the end of day one. Pretty frustrated with my mistakes in the bag. Like I said in the intro, I knew that keg might be a problem. I didn't earn the right to be mad about that within my training, but I felt like I had prepared pretty thoroughly on the bag and just failed to make those adaptations I was looking. Adaptations, shut the fuck up. I mean adjustments. I'm too used to just lifting video jargon. So we came back for for day two. The first event was deadlift for reps at 635 pounds. Good event for me. I was statically a good bit stronger than most of my competitors, so I knew this was a bit of a banker. I got to go towards the end, so again, I had a good idea of what I needed to do. I didn't want to fry out my spinal erectors for the final two events, so again, I just did what I suspected I needed to do to win. Luckily, I was right. The guy that beat me did 7, but it was a little tough. I think if he really gutted it out, he could have done one more, so I probably should have been wiser and done 9, but it didn't come back to bite me because he did end up doing 7 because he also wanted to save a little energy. Quite easy. I think that's an all-time rep here. I don't think I've done that set before. Pretty stoked with that result. And here was the highlight of the day. I told you boys I would do it. We vipered the log ladder. So I won all three of the static events, did not win the more strongman skill events. And that kind of confirmed what I already knew. It confirmed what I've been working on, just needs to continue being worked on in the off season. That event skill is really kind of a problem. And it's not just skill. I can't just cope and say, oh, I'm strong, but I'm just underskilled, right? These guys are weak, but skilled. No, my extension sucks and I'm legitimately weak at it. So I got to load more bags, load more stones, load more kegs up onto a platform or over something. But this log ladder was a real highlight of the day because for some reason a bunch of people didn't think I could actually viper it when I was saying I was going to. So it started at 265, plate two will be 285, 305, and here you see me ending the log ladder at 325 pounds. I was the only one to finish the entire ladder, as well as the fastest, obviously, and it felt pretty spry, especially for a second day of a contest. Over the moon with that one, fucking stoked. So came into this final event, which was a Zercher for max distance, in effectively a tie with the guy to my left, the ginger man in the red shirt. My shoes were very slippery, and this floor was very slippery, and I didn't bring anything grippier, which was a mistake on my part, so I elected to go barefoot. That I don't think that ended up impeding me at all. My lack of experience definitely showed here because I set too high of a pick height on these. These events, this went okay. I probably should have prepped this more aggressively, and I think he did train this a little bit more rigorously than I did. Real mistake here, we were allowed one drop, and I rushed my pick here, so I wasted my one drop, stumbled, and then I had to be done. Unfortunately, I still had time. I actually was not lightheaded at all. I could have gutted it out and forced him to go a little further because it looked like he was having not the easiest time ever with it either. I kind of thought, you know, I'm pretty quick, but oftentimes with some of these front-loaded carries, the bigger strides he have, I knew he would probably be a little bit faster than me, but I wanted to try to use, my lights don't really go out on these like a lot of people's do. I wanted to try to really grit in and gut out and see if I could push him a little bit further, but unfortunately I really rushed that second pick, stumbled, and that was my second down. A little frustrated I didn't have the opportunity to push a little harder because I was actually still feeling pretty optimistic. I wish I had set the pick a little lower, especially because the pick is not difficult for me at all at these weights as a stronger squatter. I also, you can see I'm a little bit more upright. He's a little bit more leaned back. Again, that's just him being a more experienced athlete and whooping my ass. Can't really complain too much, but super cool guy. Glad to be beat by someone cool. It'd be a real shame if he was a dickhead. Then I'd be a little bit sour about it, but that's how she went. All right, what's going on, fellas? We are back in Montana, settled down from competing this weekend. I competed in the Rainier Classic this weekend over in Washington. I entered the Amateur Open division. So we could talk about that briefly. There was a couple of options open to me for what division to compete in. This is far and away the most difficult show I have done to date. Wanted to get out of the state of Montana, face a little bit more rigorous competition, do some events I have never done in a contest before, add more tools to my bag, and just gain that competitive experience because I am strong, but I am woefully underexperienced in strongman, and that showed this weekend, which we will get to. So I kind of faced the conundrum when signing up. I'm about the size of a 230-pound strongman, and when it comes to like pro strongman, it goes straight from 230 to the open, so unlimited. Kind of leaving guys around my size out to dry a little bit, but in reality, a lot of the top 230 guys weigh about what I weigh, which is mid to upper 250s. They do a good sized diet and a good sized water cut. So as far as the amateur side of things, they had a 230 class, a 264 class, which is perfect for me, and the open division. So logically, you could say, oh, well, you could do the 120 kilo, 264 pound amateur class, but the weights were a little light. I figured if I was going to be traveling out of the state, I wanted to be forced to push myself a little bit more outside my comfort zone. And frankly, the weights in the 120 kg amateur were very much in my comfort zone. And I really wanted to be pushed a little bit more than that. So that was kind of why I didn't want to do that class. So one option that I was looking at is doing the open weight with the big boys, but in the amateur division. The other two options that I was looking at would be doing the 230, so 105 kilo pro-am division, doing a bit of a diet. I think I could pretty easily diet to 245. 15-pound water cut sounds no fun, but it's certainly doable, and most guys do something like that. where I think I could have been highly competitive. Obviously, that's very easy to say in retrospect while being a big, heavy fuck, but I do think I could have done quite well. Top 3 get their pro card, which definitely was very tempting. I feel reasonably confident that could have been something that was in the cards for me, but part of what I didn't want to do was back away from my dumb gym lifting goals of deadlifting 880, and dieting would get in the way of that a little bit. Yes, dieting down does improve your deadlift leverages, but in my case, it's offset by the kind of brute strength I gained from being a little bit heavier. So it would be delaying that. Is that a stupid reason to delay potentially trying to get my pro card? Abso-fucking-lutely, but that was an option. I was kind of kicking myself competing this weekend because I was like, man, I think I could have done pretty good there. And then the third option, which would be really throwing myself in the deep end, would be doing the Pro-Am Open division, where actually my athlete Jasper Haney got second, and he's getting all expenses paid to go to the North American Championship, which will be the first time I have coached an athlete for an international pro show. I have coached Jasper, and a while ago I worked with a guy named Josh Hatfield for America's Strongest Man, so a national level pro show. Be my first time coaching an international level pro show, which is pretty cool. I think I could have done pretty well. I would be the smallest guy by a country mile after handling Jasper on the Pro-Am sessions, but there was some events there that I think I could have been pretty comfortably mid-pack. There was a squat for maximum. I'm a pretty good squatter in the world of strongman. The log ladder, I think I could have done reasonably. I definitely wouldn't have been bottom of the barrel. I believe I could have probably finagled my way into mid-pack, and that was something I was strongly considering. There was no way in hell I was going to get top 3 and go to the North American Championship. That was not in the cards, but that was something I was strongly considering because you got to throw yourself into something, and that's where you can potentially see your best gains. I ended up deciding to do the Amateur Open division, which is what I competed in this past weekend. And in the Amateur Open division at the Rainier Classic, my first 2-day show as well, so that's some good experience gained. Definitely the ice bath between the 2 days, sick move, definitely helped me feel a lot better. I finished second place in a field of 7. Originally, it was going to be a little bit bigger, but obviously when you're prepping for a heavy show, a lot of guys get hurt, they pull out. So it ended up being a 7-man field where I got second place. Kind of confirming some stuff I already knew. Got first place on all 3 static events, not first place on the more strongman skill-oriented stuff. So definitely got my homework to do there, but I can't really be too sour about it because aside from one event, which we're going to get to the footage in a minute, I performed around what I earned in training. One of them I choked. I'm a little bit mad at myself, but for the most part, it was within kind of what I would expect based on my strengths, my weaknesses, where I have experience, where I don't have experience. The guy that beat me, very good athlete, very good at the things that I'm bad at. Taller, skinnier, more athletic guy. Me, short, fat man. Definitely, he picked up a lot of points on the things that I dropped points on, and then he managed to hold more points on the static things where I won. So he did a better job in kind of the thing outside his forte that I did on the thing outside my forte. Beat me fair and square. Good, experienced competitor, really, really nice guy. He helped me a lot with timing my warm-ups because I'd never done a show like that, whereas he has a bit more competitive experience. Very well coached by Aaron Murray, the only 2 weight class world champion in strongman, very, very technical athlete, and it showed. I could see in the warm-up room immediately. I was like, fuck, this guy is really well prepared. You know, he's got his technique sorted. He's got a plan for each event. Fair enough, you know. I went to the show to gain experience. And this is how you gain experience. I think I would be a bit of a douche to just be ass hurt that I didn't win, because that's not really how you, like, sweeping events isn't how you gain experience. So it wouldn't be in line with what I actually want to get out of the show, even though it would stroke my ego. So I'm not too sour about it. I'm amped to get back to training. We could probably talk about in a future video kind of what we're doing with the training, the road to 880, alongside my efforts to get more well-rounded in strongman, what that looks like across a week of training. I've already been training this week. I was back in the gym Monday. I just really, really like lifting weights. My body feels decent. We're already getting in some good training, and I am really, really having a good time training for the sake of training rather than training to prepare for something specific. But that's all that comes to mind. All right, I apologize for the weird tenses used in that little outro bit. It was originally intended to be an intro until I remembered that I had recorded something in the car, so we kind of repurposed it as an outro. But yeah, we could talk about what I'm doing going forward, yada, 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 in future videos. I'm back. I'm getting settled in. I apologize it took a minute to get this video put together because I have been working some very long days trying to make sure I'm caught back up on my clients for coaching, because that's actually my job. YouTube is not actually my job, and that's always going to be a higher priority. So we're almost done catching up there. So we should be back to regular videos and whatnot. Shit you guys want to see, let me know. Thank you guys for your support as always. I appreciate you boys.